Dan Dickau, Scorebook Live, Washington, here with back-to-back 4A state champion head coach of Gonzaga Prep, Matty McIntyre. First off, thanks for joining us, Matty. But when you talk about a program like yours that has had continual success, how do you begin to lay the foundation each season so you guys are looking towards the next potential obstacle to overcome?
Yeah, I think first it starts with we've had an amazing amount of talent. And when you have talent, you're able to kind of set the foundation and the culture you want the kids to believe in. And obviously the kids believe in it when you are successful. So guys like Anton and Liam Lloyd, we put a lot of energy into our defense. That's what I hope we're known for. And so the younger kids buy into that because they see the success we're having on the court.
You mentioned defense, and I'll talk to coaches across the Spokane area, but also on the west side of the state. And anytime I mention Gonzaga Prep, the first thing they say is, man, their defense is good. And you mentioned kind of a mindset. How do you develop that toughness, that defensive mindset in younger players?
Yeah. Well, I think it starts with, the message you send with the kids. It's we talk about being countercultural, about not falling into traps like instant gratification. And there's so much limelight on who can score the ball and statistics and social media, and we try to push back on some of that and say this is what we value. We value charges, help defense, and if kids are tough enough, they can find a place in our program.
You've had a number of really good players that have come through Gonzaga Prep while you've been there. Parker Kelly comes to mind, had a great career at Eastern Washington. David Stockton, who obviously played here at GU. But Anton Watson seems to be a special player. He led you, as I mentioned, to back-to-back state titles. What is different about Anton than maybe any other player that you've seen in recent memory?
Yeah. Anton was so versatile. He could do anything. He could play on the perimeter. He could play in the post. And so I think it was really difficult for teams to figure out a way how they wanted to guard him. He was a great passer, so teams were, I think, hesitant to double-team him. But ultimately, his greatness, in my mind, will be for his unselfishness, for his ability to make players around him better. He didn't go out every night seeking 30 points a game. It happened very much in the flow of what we were trying to do, and he allowed the guys around him to make mistakes and grow. And I think that's why, at the end of the day, he's the winningest guy in Gonzaga Prep history. Pretty
impressive that he would be the winningest player because there's some really good players. Terry Kelly comes to mind. Obviously, John Stockton, the other Stockton boys. You lose a player like him, who has obviously been instrumental over the last 4 years. What do you have coming up to replace Anton Watson in his production?
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. Certainly not one person can do what Anton did. We lost 9 seniors off last year's team. So life without Anton begins now, and we're trying to figure out what we have. So it's going to be a lot of new guys, a lot of new roles. In one regard, it's obviously sad for the coach that you're losing one of the greatest players in Washington history, but in another sense, it's really exciting. I'm really excited to see how much this new group of guys can grow, and I think the team will look a lot different from where we start now to where we end, and that satisfaction is deep and it's real, and I'm excited to work with this new crop of kids.
Well, it's going to be an interesting challenge to watch that team come together and evolve over the course of the year. And I'm sure a lot of people on the west side are going to be interested to see how you guys do, simply because even after back-to-back state titles, people are still a little bit hesitant of giving east side teams some of their credit. If somebody hadn't seen you guys play before that lived on the west side, how would you describe the difference between maybe a basketball program on the west side versus some of the better programs here on the east side of the state?
I think the east side of the state is very organized and perhaps more fundamental. And in no way is that a slight to the west side. I think the west side has unbelievable individual talent. And I think it's wise on their part to let those guys be themselves and not try to overcoach it and box those guys in. But I certainly think that there's a contrast of styles from one side of the state to the other. And who's to say which is better or which is right or wrong? I think everyone's doing it in a way that complements the talent level that they have.
Well, there you have it. Back-to-back state champs from Gonzaga Prep. Head coach Matty McIntyre. I'm Dan Dickau for Scorebook Live, Washington.